3. The Possessed. Later that same night, a small, thick-set, bull-necked little man was hurrying along the corridors of the Deutsche Hof Hotel. He paused outside a bedroom door and tapped discreetly. "Herr Doctor?" A voice called, "Come." Since it was now 3 a.m, the visitor was surprised to find the doctor wide awake and fully dressed. He was sitting in an armchair beneath the circle of light cast by a tall standard lamp. "Yes? I must apologize for disturbing you at this late hour, Herr Doctor. My name is Bormann, Martin Bormann. I have the honour to be secretary to the Führer." The doctor bowed his head, but said nothing. "The Führer," began Bormann. "Wishes to see me," concluded the doctor. "As you can see, I am ready and waiting." Martin Bormann gave the doctor a look of awe. How could he possibly have known? "If you will come with me, Herr Doctor?" Bormann led the doctor along silent corridors, then through a door guarded by SS sentries and into a huge shadowy room. It was dominated by an enormous desk on which burned a single reading lamp. Behind the desk sat Adolf Hitler, signing papers one after the other in a quick, nervous scrawl. As Bormann showed the doctor in, Hitler signed the last one on the pile, pushing it aside with a sigh of relief. Bormann hurried forward to take the papers away. "Ah, my good Bormann," said Hitler. He looked up at the doctor. "With Bormann I can work through a pile of dossiers in 10 minutes that would take me hours with anyone else." He rose and put a hand on Bormann's shoulder. "If I say to him, 'Remind me of something in 6 months' time,' I can be absolutely certain he will do it." Bormann glowed with quiet pride. Such moments of praise justified his whole existence. "I shall be at hand if you need me, my Führer." He bowed and withdrew with his piles of papers. Hitler walked to one of a pair of armchairs by the window, waving the doctor to another. He stared out of the window for a moment. The remnants of the torchlight procession winding through the streets of Nuremberg were still visible. "Do these people ever get tired of worshipping their Führer?" thought the doctor. "And does he ever get tired of being worshipped?" In the glow of the lamp, Hitler's face looked haggard, even haunted. After a long silence, he spoke in a low, hesitant voice. "When we met in Munich, my darkest hour, you told me that the day would come when I should rule Germany. Tonight you said that even then you knew." The doctor bowed his head. "How did you know?" asked Hitler hoarsely. The doctor paused, wondering what to say. Even in talking to Hitler, he was interfering in history. As always, it was a dangerous thing to do. The results of that interference could spread like the ripples from a stone thrown into a pond. The end result could be catastrophic. Yet, if he didn't interfere, how could he prevent that perversion of history that had resulted in a Nazi-occupied Britain? Instinct told him to speak only the truth. "I have travelled greatly over the years, both in space and time. That is how I knew, even then, that your name would loom large in history." Hitler seized on the essential point and interpreted it in his own way. "Travel in time! Ah, in the mind, in visions! You are a mystic, like the good Dr. Kriegslater." He leaned forward, blue eyes blazing. "And now, here and now, Doctor, can you still see what is to come? Can you tell me my fate 16 years hence, as you did 16 years ago?" 16 years, thought the doctor. "You've barely got 6, you poor deluded madman. 6 years and you'll be dead by your own hand. Your 1,000-year Reich will be in ruins, and most of your henchmen on trial for their lives here in Nuremberg. That's your Nazi destiny, Adolf Hitler, and I'm going to make sure you fulfill it, because otherwise this evil regime will spread over all the world, perhaps in time throughout the cosmos, a monstrous perversion of true history." Hitler's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Well, Doctor, can you see what is to come?" "The truth, but not the whole truth," thought the doctor. Aloud he said, "Some things. No one sees everything." Hitler rose and began pacing restlessly up and down. 6 years ago I seized supreme power, and since then what I wanted I have taken. Austria, the Sudetenland, Czechoslovakia, all of these are but steps in my master plan. Next comes Poland, then Russia, then Persia and India, the original homes of the Aryan race. Hitler's movements grew faster and more jerky, and his voice began rising with his excitement. He saw the doctor's calm grey eyes regarding him, and made an effort to regain control. As I said, the next step is Poland. For this reason alone, I have made a treaty of friendship with the Bolshevik scum in Russia. The doctor nodded. With secret clauses dividing Poland between you, making sure the Russians won't interfere. Hitler swung round in amazement. How could you possibly know that? The doctor held up his hand. As I told you, some things I can see. Then tell me this. The British have guaranteed to help Poland if I attack. But I am sure they will not honour their word. I am right, am I not? No, said the doctor. You are wrong. Adolf Hitler went rigid with shock. What did you say? That's done it, thought the doctor. Probably nobody's told him he's wrong for the last 6 years. Angrily, Hitler bore down on the doctor. How dare you say this to me? Do you realise that you are addressing the supreme ruler of Germany? I can have you shot. The doctor sat calmly in his chair, unmoving and unmoved. If you only want the advice of people who agree with every word you say, this hotel is full of them. Simply snap your fingers. I can only tell you what I know. As soon as you invade Poland, the British will declare war. With a mighty effort, Hitler controlled his anger. Very well, then tell me this. If I attack Poland, will the Russians keep their part of the bargain? As long as you keep yours. And if I fight the British and their allies, will I defeat them? The doctor was thinking furiously. Once again it was a time for truth, up to a point. Your armies will sweep through Europe in a lightning war. France, Belgium, Holland. And England? Whispered Hitler hoarsely. What of England? That I cannot tell you. Once more Hitler was striding up and down. Then I will tell you, he screamed. If the English resist me, I shall destroy them. Anyone who resists me will be destroyed. I shall annihilate them all. Poland, Russia, India, Asia, all will be ground under my heel. I shall be supreme ruler of all the world. The doctor sat quite still in his chair. Something very odd was happening. As Hitler strode, ranting to and fro, power was emanating from him in waves. It wasn't just the power of the orator, the power the doctor had felt at the rally, though that had been strong enough. This was something different, a fiercer, wilder power. It was a physical power too. The air was filled with a rushing wind, curtains billowed, ornaments flew through the air and smashed against the wall. I shall destroy this planet, screamed Hitler in a voice that was nothing like his own. I shall bring down destruction on every planet in the galaxy. He picked up his massive desk and hurled it against the wall, smashing the heavy piece of furniture to fragments. I shall destroy the universe. The doctor did a nimble backward somersault and took shelter behind his own overturned armchair. Cautiously he peered over the side. Hitler was rampaging round the room, smashing aside anything in his path and bellowing ever louder threats of cosmic doom. Behind him the energy storm swept through the room like a wind, hurling paintings, ornaments, books and papers through the air. Suddenly he seemed to become aware of the doctor. He stalked towards him, his eyes glowing with fiery madness. I knew we should meet again, Doctor. Only this time you do not have your TARDIS to protect you. This time I shall destroy you. Hitler's hand flashed out, and a bolt of psychic energy shattered into matchwood the armchair behind which the doctor had been hiding. The doctor, however, had rolled aside. He sprang to his feet, poised, looking for more shelter. There was none. Hitler, who seemed taller now with a strange silvery glow around him, stalked towards the doctor, claw-like hands outstretched, as if to rend him limb from limb. The doctor backed away. A last-minute dash for the door, if he could make it, but he didn't fancy his chances. Suddenly Hitler gave one last terrible howl, his body arched, and he dropped limply to the ground. Psychic overload, thought the doctor. Suppose he's dead. Outside the door, Martin Bormann had been listening in mounting anguish. The sequence of events he had learned to fear was beginning again. The Führer's voice raised in anger, the inhuman screams, the terrible sounds of destruction. The final howl and the thud of the falling body were just too much for him. Dreading what he would find, he ran into the room, revolver in hand. The man called the doctor was kneeling beside the Führer's body. Bormann raised his revolver. "Get away from him!" "Put that away, you fool," snapped the doctor. "The Führer has had an attack of nervous hysteria, a brainstorm." There was such authority in his voice that Bormann automatically holstered his revolver. "Should I send for a doctor?" "I am a doctor." The doctor was examining the unconscious Hitler. "Has anything like this happened before?" "Yes, several times." "When? At what times?" "Always late at night when he is tired and alone." "What happens?" "No one knows. We hear terrible screaming and find him like this." "Is the room always wrecked?" "Always. Destruction such as you would not believe." "Has there ever been anyone with him before?" Martin Bormann lifted Hitler carefully onto the massive sofa. "Only once. It was at the time of the Czechoslovakian crisis. The Führer was seeing someone from the General Staff late at night." "What happened?" "The man must have angered the Führer, and I heard the Führer begin to shout. Then I heard a terrible scream. When I ran in, the room was wrecked. The man was dead, and the Führer was as he is now." "How did the man die?" "The diagnosis was heart failure." "And what was he like, the man who died?" Bormann gaped at him. "Old, young, fat, thin," snapped the doctor. "In his 60s, rather fat. A senior staff officer, a general." "I imagine the diagnosis was accurate," murmured the doctor. "The shock of seeing what I've just seen." Bormann loosened Hitler's collar. "The strange thing is, the attacks never come when he is with me, and we are frequently working together at night, like this." "That isn't difficult to explain. You seem to have a calming effect on the Führer. In my opinion, he'll be most vulnerable to the attacks when he is excited or enraged, especially if he's already tired. I saw for myself tonight. We were discussing his plans. He became angry, not at me, but at the English. And this followed." "Yet you survived it. You calmed him." "I did what I could," said the doctor gravely. "Can you help him, doctor?" asked Bormann eagerly. "He thinks highly of you. I know he was speaking of you earlier." "I will do what I can," said the doctor solemnly, "but I shall need your help." "Anything," said Martin Bormann fervently. "Anything at all. Anyone who can help the Führer through this crisis commands my total loyalty." The doctor looked down at the sleeping Hitler. "Does he remember anything afterwards?" "I don't think so. He never refers to what has happened." "Get him to bed," said the doctor. "Get this place cleaned up, and above all, see no one talks." "No one will talk," said Martin Bormann grimly. "Tomorrow it will be as if this had never happened." "Until the next time," thought the doctor. He looked sternly at Bormann. "Above all, encourage him to remain calm, to avoid stress." And that's a fine piece of advice for someone who's just about to start World War II, thought the doctor as he made his way back to his suite. Inside he found Ace striding agitatedly up and down. Wrapped in a handsome silk dressing gown property of the hotel, she looked quite different. "She really is turning into quite a handsome young woman," thought the doctor. "Could be a problem for someone some day." Still, she sounded like the same old Ace, though. "Where have you been, Professor?" she yelled. "Oh well," thought the doctor, even Professor Higgins had his problems. He looked at Ace and said, "The rain in Spain." Ace didn't want to know about the rain in Spain. "Some sort of ruckus woke me up, and I came to your room to look for you, and there you were gone and the bed not slept in. I thought that horrible Himmler had changed his mind and come and nicked you after all." "Don't be silly," said the doctor. "If he had done that, he'd have nicked you as well." "So what's been happening?" demanded Ace. The doctor told her. When he'd finished, Ace said, "Sounds like he threw a major wobbly." "That's what my old nurse used to call a really nasty turn," agreed the doctor. "But it was more sinister than that." "How?" "Well, there were the paranormal effects for a start, flying flower pots, all that kind of thing." "Don't you get that sort of stuff happening around disturbed adolescents in a tantrum?" suggested Ace. Maybe old Adolf's just a retarded teenager. Hitler as a poltergeist, murmured the doctor. It's an intriguing theory, but what about all those things he was shouting? Basic paranoid stuff, surely? Cosmic paranoid stuff, corrected the doctor. Hitler might fantasize about destroying a city or even a country, but whole planets, galaxies, the universe, outside his range, surely. And there's something else. What? The doctor hesitated. I never got around to telling you, Ace, but I had a rather similar experience in the false 1951 when I was looking up history changes in the archives. Proves my point, Professor. You're a retarded teenager too, the doctor said sternly. Who do we know that's raving mad, racketing through space and time, and obsessed with causing trouble? Apart from you mean? Ace. All right, the Timewyrm. But if it is her, why aren't we seeing more of her? Not that I want to, mind you, she added hastily. But why isn't she attacking us or destroying the world or something? Why all this now you see me, now you don't stuff? I'm beginning to suspect, Ace, that she isn't in control. I think she may be in some cyclic recurrent phase system at present. If so, it won't last. It can't be stable. Either she'll get a better grip on things and have a real go at us, or she'll fly off in fragments all over the void. The latter, I hope. So what you're saying, Professor, said Ace, is that the Timewyrm's racketing round the cosmos like an out-of-control tube train on the Circle Line. She gives us a buzz when she zips through our station, then she's off again till the next time. Well, there's an explanation of a highly complex psychokinetic spatio-temporal phenomenon. It's a bit on the simplistic side, but roughly speaking, yes. So what do we do? Well, I still think it isn't just a Timewyrm we're dealing with. So we learn as much as we can about what's going on here. This is the point where history must have changed, remember. And keep our heads down the next time the Timewyrm comes round. Exactly. Well, as a plan for tackling a highly complex psychokinetic spatial temporal phenomenon, sounds a bit simplistic to me, said Ace sleepily. But I suppose it'll have to do. I'm going back to bed.